Okay, let's get started. Thanks everybody for showing up to the monthly meeting, the August one. We'll start with this picture here, and this is from Mark Jobe, the Snake Nebula. He took this picture from his observatory down in Texas. And sorry, I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Ahmed Reda. I'm filling in here for Trina, and who is out. She's getting. Okay, I'll hold on for the. Okay. So yeah, I'm filling in here for Trina. She's getting like, I don't know, like an Aikido, like a brown or a black belt, but some high level tier belt. So congrats to Trina. Exactly. I can't make any more jokes at her expense for my personal safety. So yeah, don't mess with Trina. And yeah, Matt, you better remove this part when we edit this video so that Trina doesn't watch it. So yeah, I'll be filling in for Trina. And this is our board. Trina's not here. John is also not here. Dave is also not here. And that's why I'm the one who's presenting. And we have Matt in the house here, who is our treasurer, and myself, board member at large 1, and then Jesse, board member at large 2. Onward with new members. So we have a lot of members to welcome this month. And we have a couple who are coming back, and we've reached a record of 737 members. As you can see around, the turn of the year, we are hovering around 700 members, plus or minus a couple. And now we were well over that, and we've been growing very healthy growth. So any of the new members here in person? Thank you for joining the club. Anybody online? Okay. What I would say, this is a great community for astronomy. Feel free to ask questions, feel free to engage. You're not going to find shortage of people here to help you who are excited about astronomy. So astronomy events over the next month here. I can't see my full screen because I have a bar here, but as you can see, there is the moon, Pollux north of the moon. That's going to be tomorrow. There's going to be a new moon this weekend. So get out and observe. Hopefully the ash doesn't get in your way. And if we get aurora, it would be a perfect night for it, moonless night, and hopefully no wildfires and ash in the air interfering with that. And then, yeah, Venus and Regulus conjunction, Regulus and the moon throughout the month. And then we're going to have first quarter moon on August 12th, full moon on the 19th, and last quarter moon on the 26th. And then on September 3rd, we will have a new moon a couple days before our next monthly meeting. I'm not seeing any of those events that Dave Faulkner would say not here. So I think we're good. This list has been vetted. So moving on to the Lunar Scope program. Anton?
As always, we have loaner scopes that are available to members for 30-day loans at no extra cost. We have Dobsonians, Schmidt-Cassegrains, refractors, a solar scope, and a couple of pair of binoculars. We've done 49 loans so far this year, which is actually down from the last couple of years. So not enough people are taking advantage of the program just now. So as a result, I have telescopes of all types that are available. About half of them are out in circulation right now. To request a scope, I think the next picture is. Nope, I guess not. Okay, on the home page, there is a great big box that says, loaner telescopes. Just click on that, and that will take you to the page that shows all the telescopes that we have. You fill out a form, and I get a message. Then I'll respond to you and make arrangements for you to pick up the telescope from in my driveway. Then we also have the DVDs on all things astronomy. There's, 15 or 20 of these, and anything you want to know about astronomy, we have a DVD short course on that. There is a request I would like to make for people who do borrow telescopes. Please, when it comes time to return the telescope, I would really appreciate it if you would contact me. Now, I don't mind sending out friendly reminders. I do that all the time. But to be perfectly honest, probably 1 in 10 borrowers contacts me first. it is the borrower's responsibility to know when the telescope is due to return. So I would simply ask that you make sure that you're cognizant of that date and respond to me promptly. I'm a volunteer, as is everybody else who runs the organization. So I would really appreciate that little extra courtesy in helping keep those telescopes in circulation. So are there any questions? Okay.
Thank you, Antone. I'd have to say especially for new members, or if you don't own a telescope, don't buy a telescope. There's a big variety in the loaner program. Go try all different kinds and sorts of telescopes out there before you decide to settle for one. It's an amazing program, and it doesn't come at any extra cost. And I'm pretty sure Antone likes handing out and getting telescopes back, right? So, and then now we're gonna continue with, we've been having monthly updates from all of the sites. We've had LCC do their update a couple months back. We've had the Gertner Committee do their update, and we've had JJC last meeting. For this meeting, it's going to be CGO. Trina's the chair, but Steve Emmert, who is a committee member, will be delivering the update, what's going on at the site, and engaging with the membership.
Okay, so go ahead and flip to the next slide. And I'm gonna have to look at it so I remember what the heck I wrote. So anybody that's never been there before, there's a quick description of where it is. And the facilities we have there are the warm house with heater and an air conditioner, and it has Wi-Fi and a fridge and a microwave and all that stuff. We have those tarp sheds for light tarps to protect against the local light pollution from coming down the road. Of course, the porta potty and the tool shed. A couple of years ago, we added the observing pads. A couple of them have power, most of them without. And then, of course, in the observatory, we have the 24-inch Starmaster, the big aperture Dobsonian, the 16-inch Meade LX200 Classic, and then the imaging platform that has a Takahashi and a plane weight in it. And next slide. Oh, just a couple of pictures of the buildings and grounds if you haven't seen it before. The fence on the left side is the west, and that's actually been up longer than the one up on the north, which we never got around to staining. And here you can see the pads that were added last year, I think it is. And then the parking lot on the right, where we try to keep people parking there instead of parking on the grass itself. Next. Another couple of looks at the warming house with the tarp shed to the right of it, and the observatory with the roof pulled back. And the little picture up in the upper left-hand corner is the 24-inch Starmaster. Next. Okay, so the events that we've had this year, we had the Spring Messier Marathon, which I think 4 people actually saw Messier objects, because that happened to end up being the night of the Aurora. So the rest of us were looking at Aurora. And then the Virgo Venture, which is held a month after the Messier Marathon. That's where you try to find all of the, a whole bunch of galaxies in the Virgo/Leo cluster. And then, of course, coming up later this fall, the Fall MES Mini Messier Marathon. We've been holding that for as long as I can remember, probably 2004, 2005, we've been doing that. And then, of course, we used to, a long time ago, schedule star parties and put them on the website, but a number of years ago, we decided to just make them impromptu star parties. So since we own the place, we don't have to worry about any landlord or anything. Members can come and use their own equipment anytime, with or without being a key holder. And if you are a key holder, you can schedule any of the platforms at any time, the imaging rig, the 24-inch Starmaster, or the LX200. Some projects that we've been doing. So recently, as in the last year or two, we added that porta potty, which is, we actually purchased it. It's a handicap sized porta potty, and we've got that shelter over it so it doesn't blow away. And it does have a red light in it and a coat hook and a heated seat, which is important in the wintertime. And then we added those concrete pads last year. Some projects we've got coming up. We're basically in maintenance mode at that place. So the warming house carpet, it's an indoor-outdoor carpet that was put down by Vic Heiner and Joan, his wife, oh gosh, probably 17, 18 years ago, and it's due for a replacement. So Trina wants to put in carpet squares. We're hoping to do that later this year. On the double door frame that where you bring the bat out of the observatory, it's kind of rotting on the door frame. So I want to replace that later this summer when it's not 95 degrees out there and 200% humidity with a PVC door frame that won't rot, continue to rot. Trina wants us to sand and seal the picnic table. It's a 250-year-old picnic table that's really gross looking, but it still holds up, so why not? And then we've got a vexing problem with the GFI that's tripping in the porta potty occasionally, but fortunately we no longer have the Wi-Fi on the same circuit as it, so it's not quite as much of a problem. And then the screen door is getting kind of old, so I don't know if we put that in the budget for this year or if that's for next year, but sometime soon we'll be replacing the screen door. Next one. The update on the system. So the 24-inch StarMaster, we recently, Dick Jacobson, I think I saw you here. Thank you for building the cart. There you are. He built the wheels so we can wheel the thing around so you don't have to put the wheelbarrow handles on and, you know, have them 2.5 feet apart. So short people can actually move it around, and that works pretty well now. It did create a bit of a problem that a StarMaster doesn't have as rigid of a rocker box as Obsessions do. So if you don't move the wheels up and down properly, this drive cable for the altitude drive can slip off of its spot. So we added some clamps on the side so that anytime when it's not in place and being used, we have these clamps on that clamp the mirror box down to the rocker box, and that seems to work pretty well. So, and it also goes across concrete. We don't have to run it across grass or anything. So that seems to all add up to a pretty easy way to make the bad, be able to drag it out across and put it on the bad pad for viewing. The Argo Navis was recently repaired, and it will be fully functional as soon as I get that thing back down there, because it's currently in my house because I haven't gotten it back down after repairing it. The Schmidt Cassegrain, that's a LX200 Classic, so it's not the Auto Start 2, it's got the big bulky looking hand pad, but it works. So that's fully functional, no problems on that thing. And on the imaging platform, we have the Paramount. Everything's working well as far as as I understand on the mount. The Takahashi refractor, I thought the focus issues were resolved, but Clayton, you said you had a little bit of a problem with it a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've got a little bit of work to do on the Takahashi. Same thing with the plane wave. They cleaned the mirrors last spring, but we have some coma seen on the stars, and they think that it's the distance between the primary and the secondary mirror, and they're going to work on that in August to try to get that. And Conrad's planning to schedule another imaging rig training pretty soon. So again, this thing is a fairly unique platform. So we've got an imaging rig here. Once everything's working to our satisfaction, the imaging rig can, it has the computer in that ugly looking box to the left on the cart, and the platform, the computer, everything. So all you need to do is be trained on it, bring down a USB memory stick and take your pictures and bring it back and do your own processing or not processing at home. So a really good resource for the entire club, especially if you want to get into imaging but don't want to go to the expense of a huge mount and a huge set of software and the cameras and everything. And I think that's all I have. That is all I have. Thank you.
Any questions for Steve?
Hey, I'm Ed.
When are we going to have the next key holder training? Trina put it.
We have a slide that will show the upcoming key holder trainings for all the different sites.
Okay.
So,
but I think we were planning one in late August, even though I think that thing might say September. I'm not sure. Anyway, we are planning one soon.
any other questions? Anybody online?
No.
Okay. And let's keep moving forward. Okay, Astronomy League Awards. Jerry, welcome. We've missed you for a bunch of meetings, so
Good evening, everyone. It is a pleasure to be back. Great to be back. And my name is Jerry Jones. I have the pleasure of being the Astronomical League coordinator for the Minnesota Astronomical Society. Among many things, my primary job has to do with the Astronomical League observing projects. And there's a second slide there.
Well, first Trina has a question. Who is he and where have you been? So you got to answer where have you been?
I'll never tell.
Fair
I'll
enough.
never tell.
Okay,
The
next
state,
slide.
if I told you, I'd have to kill you. So I want to.
Fair enough.
So my favorite thing about doing all of this and being part of what I do with the Minnesota Astronomical Society is working with the Astronomical League observing projects. Now, as many of you know, the Astronomical League is our parent organization. There are 150, something like that, or 250 different organizations around the country that are parented by the Astronomical League. They do a number of things for our benefit, but one of the main things that they do is they provide for their members observing projects that have been curated and designed and organized by people who love doing this kind of stuff, who are very goal-oriented and just love doing these sorts of observing projects. And many of the observing projects are designed and then tested for years and years and years by a group of people before they're put out on the website. And the whole point of them is to provide us an opportunity to, when we go out and observe, that we don't look at the same ones we've seen just the last time we were out. How many of you guys do that? Yeah, okay. Yeah, if you're brave, you'd be raising your hands. So the observing projects are designed for people who like to look at different things and who like to look at something different when they go out and like to be challenged and like to press their own observing opportunities, their own observing experiences. There are observing projects for every single level, for beginners, intermediate, advanced, and there are well over 65 different observing projects. And there are even projects for the dark arts members of the Minnesota Astronomical Society. I'm speaking specifically of those imagers. And in fact, I'm hoping to work together. Doug Neverman and I are attempting to do some things together so that we can begin to encourage, because we have so many magnificent imagers in our club, begin to encourage the imagers to, on top of imaging, is to do some of these observing projects and some of these imaging projects. So that's kind of exciting and kind of fun. We do happen to have one person in the room who just completed one of the what's considered more of the beginner intermediate projects. Brad, where are you? Brad, come on up. He's going to talk a little bit about he just finished the Messier project. Now, typically, so this is one of the unfortunate, the sad things that happened over the course from COVID. There was a time when I would have the certifications and the pins come to my house, and then I forced our members to come to the meeting so I could hand it to them, and then we were able to applaud and all that cool stuff. Well, that hasn't been happening, and I'm toying with the idea of pulling that back, although I'm not certain how many people would want to do that. I don't know. But here's Brad, and he just finished one. Brad, tell us about your experience and what you did, and I know you did some unique stuff.
All right. Thank you. Yeah, it was really fun. I brought a note here to myself I just made so I'd remember some things. For those of you are interested in what is this, it's the 110 Messier objects. And the first time I sent my list to Jerry, he says, "Where did you find the extra 5?" Because I had a typo and I put 115. I said, no, no, it was 110. So about, yeah, I just. That's right. Yeah, plenty. So what I did, first of all, I don't know, maybe those of you that haven't looked at this yet, I'm sharing this. First thing is, what am I getting my arms around? What am I looking at? So of course I had to make a graph and chart of how far away all of these objects were and what they were. And then I put together a database of what their size and their, you know, how bright they were and all those kind of things and which constellation, so I could sort them and what time of year. And oh, good grief, I had as much fun with that as actually, you know, being outside. And so that was 7 years ago. And then I got my Telrad charts and circles and all that going. And I burned up all of my objects that I could observe with my current telescope. And then I said, well, I better get another telescope. So I got more light coming in. And these are the numbers I got to write down. My current 8-inch Schmidt-Cassegrain has 86%. My old one had 86% reflectivity on the mirrors and whatever. And it was 86% times 86% times 86%. So I had 63% light transmission with that. And I actually called Celestron. I said, you suppose if I just get another 8-inch that's the new HD, that's worth it? And he just didn't know what to tell me, you know. And I was going to get a larger one, but, you know, for an extra 1.25 inches, another $1,000. And, you know, it just didn't work for me. So the new one, instead of 63% light transmission, I got the Edge HD. It's still an 8-inch. It went from 97% to 90 times 97% times 97%. So equals 91% light transmission. So from 63% to 91%, I entertained myself for another couple years on seeing more objects. And then a couple of years ago, I burned up all of those. And I said, well, this still isn't working. So my eyes are all old. So I got a Hyperstar system for that with a camera. And I still use the searching, just, you know, star hopping, just as if I was looking through the eyepiece, and I'd use my Telrad and Finder Scope and all that and put it where I want to look. And then all I have to do is wait like 1 minute for this thing to automatically, the camera kind of process things through, and I'd look at the screen. I'd say, well, that's not right. And I'd move it somewhere else, just like you do with an eyepiece. So I didn't, you know, cheat on it. I still used, you know, my brain powered, my star hopping power, but then I used up the rest of, then I got to 110 with that finally. And the thing I learned from this whole adventure was patience. Oh, that's all right. I was been kind of busy and it's been cloudy and now it's the full moon. I'll catch that next April. And good grief, I never had that much patience in my life. So that's probably a long story, but that's kind of my adventure of the whole thing. So thank you.
Congrats, Brad.
Congratulations. Well done. You know, I'm a little afraid that you kind of scared people when having to buy 2 different telescopes to get through this. You don't have to. You don't have to. And because we have some in the club, you can use those. But if you want to, yes, aperture fever. So that's my spiel. Any questions regarding the, yes, sir. So step 1 is to make sure you check
wanna
the
repeat the
website.
question
Oh, thank you.
for people online.
So the question is, I'm about ready to start something, about ready to pull something together, not quite certain where to start, how to get going on it, whether I'm doing it right. Is that close enough? So you're doing the Bright Nebula Challenge as an imager. Okay. So I'm assuming that you have checked the website and looked at the. So I'm hoping that you made a point of determining transparency and seeing. Good for you, and that you're doing the distance thing. You might want to check the website. So the best suggestion I can offer you to you and to anyone is make sure that you check what the website requires. There are some basic expectations for visual or imaging, location, date, time, transparency and seeing, all this kind of stuff. And then there can be specifics for the specific observing project, and it's all laid out well on the website. And they're really pretty good about doing all of that. If you have any questions, that's what I'm here for. If I don't know the answer, then I reach out to the national coordinator because it's important for me to know the answer to that question. My email is on the website. I can give it to you, jjones7777 at, ready, AOL.com. I is a dinosaur when it comes
You
to
got mail.
you've got
You've
mail.
got
Yeah,
mail.
got mail. And then you can shoot that question to me, and then all of the submissions are sent to me through that. And then on the website, nope, scratch that. On the MAS observing page, there is a sheet that gives you some guidelines as far as how to organize your project before you send it in to me. And so that's fairly straightforward and easy to do. Does that answer your question? Yes, sir. Steve Everett, the one and the only.
You have to take the packet, the booklet from the email.
They would like to tell you that. Thank you. Are you required to purchase the AL book in order to complete the project associated with that book? And the answer to that question is they would like you to think that. The answer is that typically it is excellent to at least get a hold of the book. Because there oftentimes is some information that's necessary, but also oftentimes not. Like there are some, like observing the universe sampler. That's one where the book is super helpful. The Herschel 400, nah. I mean, the Herschel 400 is the Herschel 400. And you do it, but the universe sampler, that's one where there are some other, Beyond Polaris, that's another one where it's helpful to have the book because there are some particular things that it's really helpful to have it right in front of you. But no, you don't have to send the book in along with your, with your logs. They'll never know whether or not, I'll never know whether you bought the book. And I typically the one that signs off on it. And so they'll never know. Good question though. Thanks for asking that. Because some of those books can be really expensive and relatively meaningless. I hope Al Lamperti wasn't listening. Any other questions?
You said you were trying to do something with Doug Neverman for astrophotographers.
So the basic issue, I'm not an imager. I get the distinct impression that many imagers really look at the night sky a little differently than visual guys. And so there's some translation, I think, that needs to occur between the two. Because I think in so many ways, the AL observing projects are designed for visual observers. That's where it's always been. The imaging portion of it is new within the last number of years. And when I look at it, I begin to wonder how does that translate? So my hope is, in working with Doug, we're going to have some sort of translation code, make certain this is what this means, this is what that means, this needs to be taken care of over here, that kind of thing. And at least that will help me as I start to have to look at the imagers projects. So it's going to help me as much as anything. So that's what we're looking at doing. We have so many magnificent imagers in this club. I can easily imagine that we could have multiple master imagers with just a little bit of additional work on your parts, because you're doing the work already. You guys are, as we're going to find out today, are doing phenomenal work in maintaining and developing these images, processing and developing these images. Any other questions?
So answering Trina's original question, the answer is you've gone to the dark side.
No, I'm not an imager. Did I say I was an imager? No, I'm
Yeah.
not an imager. I am not.
Or starting to dabble or come close.
Ooh, well, yes, if you forced me, I could show you a couple of pictures on my phone that I did take through my telescope, but you don't want to see them.
Fair enough.
Any other questions?
Questions online?
And with that, I will say what Trina always enjoys hearing me say, get out there and observe.
Thank you, Jerry. Okay, so we have upcoming activities, star parties at ELO on the 10th of August and the 24th. There is a BSIG session on August 10th, and Cedar Creek is going to have a star party on the August 10th also. And that one will have solar observing during the day, and there will be a star party at night. So it will be a full day at Cedar Creek. Yeah, it starts at 1, not 7. Yeah, the one at Cedar Creek. And B6 at 7:30. Sorry, I can't make jokes.
DLO August 10th starts at 1 also.
Somebody said
Actually,
something.
it's probably going to start noon. Yes, I did. This is Doug Nepperman.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry. That's not, never mind. I was mistaken.
Okay. So yeah, ELO star parties start at 7. BSIG, Suresh, you're saying it starts at 7, 7:30. And then the Cedar Creek is going to be starting at 1 because there's solar observing, and then a break, and then a star party at 7 p.m. Sounds good? So let's talk about Northern Night Starfest. Volts, want to come and tell us about it?
Yep. So end of August, up at LLCC as annually we do. We are setting everything up. We've got speakers all lined up, and we've got the camp all ready to go. All the scopes are ready to go. We've got Wi-Fi installed on the field now, and registration is open. There is a quick tiny URL to the registration link. Registration is starting to fill up, so please go ahead and do that. We do have Bob King again speaking, although he's not going to be speaking on Saturday. He's speaking on Thursday due to a conflict. But otherwise, we might even get lucky with Aurora because it is coming close to Solar Max. So let's hope for that. And looks like it's going to be a fun time. Can't wait.
And the program details are on the website, right?
Yep, all the
Speakers and
preliminary,
their
the
times.
preliminary agenda is on the website, on the calendar. I don't have, I think an additional 5, but I don't know. I don't have the list. I got the list from about 6 days ago. I don't have the current list.
And to answer some of the online questions that we got regarding this event, this is a by registration only event. It's not open to the public to just show up, walk-ins and stuff like that. Sounds good. So yeah, this is a great opportunity. If you want to geek out on astronomy, this is the place to be. And as a friend of mine here called it once before, and I love the name, this is Nerd Fest. So key holder training. So ELO on August 10th and 17th. And Doug, you were saying, what time does it start?
The August 17 will be at 7 o'clock. I'm debating on the start for the August 10th, but it'll either be at noon or at 1 p.m. There's a lot of material to get through, and if you sign up for everything, then you're going to get the fire hose of information that'll come out at you.
Sounds good. So based on the time, if I'm getting it right, the August 10th is an overview, on the 17th, more of like, it's in the evening, it's more of a hands-on practice at night, right?
The reason for the ones on the 17th is because the obsession and the imaging rig are best done when it's dark out. So we actually start that training close to astronomical twilight. The others are all trained during the day, though there'll be some at night. It just depends on what people have signed up for. And if you're interested, I've limited the attendance to 15, and I think there's 3 slots left. So if people are interested in getting trained in August, then they need to get that in soon. And you can find it through the website.
Yeah. You mean the forum, right?
The form to fill out, yes.
Yes. Yeah. So
Fill out that form, and I fill out that form, and I will get an email and send back something back to you.
Sounds good. Thank you, Doug. Yes, the happenings email will have a link to all the different trainings for the sign up, whether it's ELO, JGC, or others. And then there is a key holder training at JGC. Clayton, you want to speak to that? Or
September 21st. I did put something on the website about potentially doing an evening one. Have you want to have one in?
so those both are at 1 o'clock or something during the day trainings? Okay.
Yes, they do start, we try to start at 1 o'clock and try to finish up within 3 hours and get that over with. So we cover the whole thing. But if you go to our forums where we have the information about signing up, I posted a request if anyone is interested in doing an evening one instead of going in the weekend, but like going during the week. But I haven't seen any replies. I was just trying to give opportunities at different times than normal for other people. So if you are interested in doing something like that, please log into the forum, post that you are interested, so we kind of set something up to do that. So that'll be all.
Thank you, Clayton. And for CGO, Steve, I take it the training on October 5th is during the day, and in the evening, it's going to be the Mini Messier Marathon then.
Yeah, it'll be in the evening just before the.
Early evening. Okay. So yeah, the CGO one is early evening, and then LCC, there's key holder training during NNSF during those days. Oh, on Thursday only. Okay, so not 27. Okay, so Thursday only. Can you repeat your question again? And if we have a question here from Suresh.
Hey guys, Doug, have you guys given any thought for the ELO training to do any of those on weeknights as well, say around 6 o'clock as we get into the fall?
No, we haven't. We do have another one planned in I think the end of September and October. So there'll be one more training. We haven't really talked about doing any additional training during. You're talking about weekday nights?
Yeah, weeknights. Yeah, just because of the people want to get trained, so it's an opportunity.
Yeah, we haven't really thought about that. It was enough just to get the training turned around to be modular as opposed to one monolithic thing this year. So,
Right.
but it's something we can consider.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Doug, and thanks, Suresh, for the question. Okay, on to public service announcements here. So pretty much go on our Facebook page, like our Facebook. We have a social media coordinator who keeps that up to date, and our social media coordinator, Chris, is looking for pictures. So send her details, and it's social media at mnastra.org. The email, not Chris Bethia. So need to fix that on the slide deck. So. Yeah, and when you're given a picture to Jesse, make sure the picture has sort of like your name, what the object is, and so to preserve your copyright in royalty for the picture. But we'll share it on the page.
Chris, not Jesse.
Not me. It was like.
Oh, sorry, not Jesse. Chris Bethia. Yes. Okay, and also we have our MAS store. Go online, buy a shirt, buy a sweater, or a mug, or a hat. So go ahead. We have a refresh store, and pretty soon here we're going to be rolling out a new logo that Jesse has been working on designing it. So we're going to have more stuff for club material here to sell. And yeah, there are color variations that they offer, so you can pick what colors you want. And then for Gemini articles, Father Brown is always looking for articles, and the deadline for the August publishing was July 10th. This is old. So yeah, next Gemini for October is September 10th. So make sure before September 10th, you've sent your articles to Father Brown so you can include them in the October issue. Go ahead, Steve.
And I'd just like to mention, you should have seen it in the happenings, but for anybody that's not aware of it, the August one was just published. So go ahead and download the August issue of the Gemini.
Thank you, Steve. And then to the happenings. So if you know, this is for announcements within the club. You can sign up for it and you'll pretty much get a weekly email update, what's happening at the different sites. If there is a training, details around the meeting, if there is, a new Gemini issue, all that stuff will come out in the happenings in a push email. So email secretary@mnastro.org and you'll get the email on a weekly basis. And then our next meeting is also going to be members astrophotography, and I'll explain why in a little bit. And it's going to be here in the Mbetoteca Education Center in person and also online. So please join us as we also do members astrophotography. And then Trina has a finished slide. Now I got to switch to the slide deck with the pictures. So give me a second. Okay. Now on to astrophotography. And today Jesse is going to help me do this. Usually it's Trina and I, but since Trina's out, Jesse, don't do Aikido.
I'll try not to.
Okay, so first thing I want to say, as usual, this is one of the most things I enjoy in this club is getting pictures from people, getting to see what everybody's been working on and their perspectives and getting to talk to them about it. Now, this year is a record year. We started doing this when the pandemic hit and we're trying to figure out what can we do online versus meeting in person back in 2020. Dave Faulkner and I, we started this. And today we're doing it for the 5th time now, for the 5th year in a row. Last year, we had 10 participants and 34 images. This year, we got 27 participants and 148 images. So this is why, I was like, after I was checking my email after the deadline on Monday night, and I had a big oops moment. I was like, oh, I should have had that deadline much earlier and less pictures. But yeah, I called Trina and I told Trina, okay, this is not going to be enough to cover in one meeting. And this is why we'll go through as many as we can today. And then, but we want to make sure that we cover every picture. And then we will continue in the September meeting. Sounds good? So the other thing we're going to be doing today is that usually we went alphabetically by last name. We're going from A to Z. To mix it up, I'm actually going to go this time from Z to A. So people who used to go last are going to go first this time. So, I'll put you guys on the spot. Sounds good? So with that said, let's start with the first one. Don, want to come up here and talk about your pictures? Or hand you the microphone.
Well, I was out looking at the Northern Lights back, was it in May? And I was out very late and I thought, oh, I don't see a dang thing. I kept looking north and all of a sudden I look at these people, they're looking west. I'm thinking, what are they looking at? And I looked their direction and say, oh gosh, there it is. I thought these were Northern Lights, not Western Lights. And so I just started taking some pictures and then on the way home, I stopped at this park near my house and I thought, well, finally the lights are off in the parking lot. I'll see what I can see. And that's where this one came from. The other ones were over near Medicine Lake. That one's near Medicine Lake where I saw that one. That's when I was looking west. So I took a lot of pictures, but I just gave about 3 or 4 pictures here to look at. So that's it. That just it really pretty. And then I went out the next night. I didn't see very much. It's kind of funny how one night it's just beautiful. The next night, hardly anything there to see. So
Sorry, I'm just going to turn off the lights for better visibility. So did you use a camera or what did you use? Did you use, did you use your cell phone or what did you use?
Yeah, I just used my cell phone. And I did when I got home, I enhanced them a little bit so they would bring out more color. But basically just a cell phone. And that one I think was taken the next night. That was taken up near Rogers. And like I say, it was more disappointing, but I did get a couple pictures from up there, and well, there you go.
Thank you, Don. Okay, on to Claire.
I'll wait and see which ones you're gonna, oh, okay. So I also have Aurora shots. I was out at Eagle Lake that night, and anyone else who was out there, it ended up being kind of a madhouse, but it was a very festive atmosphere. There were people milling around everywhere, coming and going all night long, headlights of cars. I took over 700 images that night, but for tonight, I decided to just, instead of showcasing my brightest, most colorful Aurora images, I decided to choose the ones that had the most interesting people shots in the foreground. So that's, I thought some of these people shots were cool. Including our own Jesse Palmer featured in this image.
Yeah, the Aurora is nice, but the artistic shots are really.
Kind of thought about photoshopping
Yeah.
in the brightest Aurora shots with the people, but I thought that would be cheating. So
No, it's nice where they look natural.
yeah.
And you're using a Canon R6.
Yeah, this is yep, a Canon on a tripod. All right, and then I'm a visual observer, but getting ready for the eclipse down in Texas, I did purchase an equatorial mount, and again, I had my Canon with a 200mm zoom lens on it, and I was practicing. I didn't get a lot of opportunity to practice for the eclipse, so when we got down to Texas, I was nervous about getting everything working. So I spent a couple nights beforehand just practicing with the imaging rig, and I just zipped around the night sky to figure out what I could catch with the Canon camera. The Omega Centauri shot with Centaurus A, that one's mostly like a keepsake from Texas, because I've seen Omega Centauri about 4 or 5 times and it's amazing. So this was kind of like a postcard from Texas.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And the fact that you can see it with the naked eye, from down there is beautiful.
And then, yep, the usual Orion Nebula. I guess I'm representing the newbie imagers tonight.
No, but it's nice. You're not using a telescope. You're just using
Yeah, no, I'm
camera.
just using a Canon with a zoom
Yeah.
lens. And so the rosette, I like this one because I've seen the rosette visually a bunch of times and it's just really hard to see the nebulosity for me. So it was cool to see it with a camera.
Okay, thank you, Claire. And now we have Jacob. Is Jacob online? Okay, well, we'll show his pictures then. So you can see the Trifid Nebula up here. This one. Andromeda. California, yep. Crescent Nebula. And then solar eclipse. Yeah, Heart and Soul Nebula. And then the Rosette. And then a totality. And then I think this is Eastern Veil Nebula. Yeah, I'd have to say Jacob is a really good astrophotographer. So for those astrophotographers in the club, you guys got some serious competition here you need to consider. So, okay, on to vaults.
All right, so first one is I've kind of had was a hiatus of imaging for the last few years, so just coming back with the new camera, but it's the same telescope. This is the M13 and M92. These are just my test shots, but interesting comparison. It's done at identical scale, processed identically. So it's a good comparison of the two globs in Hercules. So I'm ready for the nebulous stuff. Okay. Then my second image. This was also from May, the aurora. This is from my house. This was dusk to dawn, continuous time lapse of the entire night. This was the Canon 60DA with a Rokinon 8mm fisheye, looking pretty much just up through my front yard.
How many hours?
It was an image every 30 seconds, and it was dusk to dawn the
Okay.
entire night. It was about 800.
How much of a time exposure for each one of the shots?
About 5 seconds per shot, one shot every 30 seconds. It was a couple stops down from the Rokinon is F4, so it was probably about F6.
No, this is beautiful vaults. Thank you. Okay.
Hey, I'm online. Hopefully you can hear me. I took myself off mute.
Yeah, we can hear you, Alan. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Go ahead. First slide. So this was down at Cherry Grove, obviously, on May 10th before the aurora. So we were getting set up, and there was this beautiful rainbow, almost a double rainbow, that went from horizon to horizon to the east of Cherry Grove. It was pretty amazing. Next slide.
Steve, you should have had that in your slide deck for the site. It's beautiful. Fair enough. So
Go ahead to the next slide. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Next. I labeled this one the telescope. We were all there for the Messier Marathon, but the aurora interfered, and you couldn't even see it, much of the Messier objects. But the aurora was just tremendous. So this is a 6-inch f8 sitting there silhouetted against the bright aurora in the northern sky. This is the trees to the northwest of Cherry Grove. The colors were really prominent with a few clouds interfering there, but the reds and the greens and the yellows were just quite amazing at this point in the night. So this one I was just looking straight up, probably around 2 in the morning or so. I called this the face. If you look on the left side there, you can kind of see a nose and a chin of some creature facing to the left in the image there, and the red is spewing out of the mouth there to the left, and then the fire and everything on the right. So just amazing display looking straight up at Cherry Grove. It's like the radiant was right above us.
It's 8 o'clock.
Oh, this is the face. A little bit later, this is the face. It's easier to see it here. The reds have kind of gone, but the face is more prominent.
Yeah, you can see the nose, the eyes.
Yep.
You can call it the Grinch.
Yeah, it's almost like a Grinch. You know, feathers in the hair going, on top of the head going up.
Exactly. It's the Aurora Grinch.
Yeah.
Thank you, Alan. Okay, next, Mark Strom. Is Mark in the audience? Mark online? Okay, he's not here. We'll show his pictures. So yeah, you can see Aurora over ELO here, over Sylvia specifically. And then over Onan. Then this one is a video. The previous one was just a picture.
Can't see the clouds of dust.
There was a satellite passing through. Mhm. I'm gonna replay it again. There we go. Okay. Again, Mark is another amazing photographer, so yeah, more competition. So let's go ahead with Suresh.
So for me, I figured we'd have a lot of deep sky photos this time, as we usually do. So I thought I'd change it up. The last couple of months, I've been doing primarily solar work because the nights have been so short. And when you're doing deep sky, especially mono, it's hard to do that when you have 3 or 4 hours. Fortunately, the sun's at maximum. So these are images I took back on June 1st of the sun using a Lunt 80mm double stack and a color, ZWO 585 MC camera. So that bright area below center is a sunspot group. I can't recall the number now, but that's the same sunspot group that the previous month, when it rotated, the previous rotation, created the aurora that everybody's been taking pictures of. So that was the one that created that on May 9th and 10th. And it came all the way around and it was happened to be in the center, just below center this time. So just to the left of that's a filament, which is essentially a prominence superimposed on the sun. You can see how long that is. The sun is 864,000 miles in diameter, so that filament stretches several 100,000 miles, maybe more than 500,000 miles. Then, of course, you have the prominences along the edges. So that was pretty cool data image of the sun. There's some close-ups now of the prominences. There weren't any major prominences that night, but a lot, or that day, but a lot of that night, but a lot of medium-sized ones all over the sun's limbs. So that was kind of cool. Some more close-up of that sunspot group. Yeah, it's an 80 millimeter double stack Lund. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. So I generally take 3-minute videos, and I usually am in the vicinity of 20 frames per second, give or take. And so this is 3 minutes of that. So and I take the top 50% usually, 40%, and I think this was top 50% to get this. And just a close up on that sunspot group. So it happened to be giving off X flares that day, and I think that's why it was so bright. So we were expecting aurora from this later that week too, in the first week of June. And there's the filament to the left. Yeah, that's a close up of it. So this, Ahmed talked me into sending these in a couple of days ago. So this was actually taken on July 27th, so just a few days ago. About 2 months ago, I bought a Lunt B1200 calcium K module. And I've been sticking that on my Stellar View 102 refractor, so about a 4-inch refractor. And I just bought a ZWO 432 mono camera. So I've just started shooting solar with mono just in the last week or two. And this was my second attempt at calcium K. And for people that aren't familiar, the previous images in hydrogen alpha, that's the magic wavelength. That's the wavelength that hydrogen shines the brightest in, 656.3 nanometers. So that's on the red side of the spectrum. This is on the other side of the visible spectrum. This is 393.4 nanometers. And what calcium K looks at is a lower part of the chromosphere, which is the layer just above the surface of the sun. And so this is a cooler area. And since it's 393 nanometers, this is on the other side of the visible spectrum. So it's more in the violet, almost ultraviolet part of the spectrum. And so normally, because of that wavelength, it is just below the visible acuity for most people to see anything. So these filters are primarily used photographically. But interestingly, if you've had cataract surgery, apparently you can see detail visually through these filters. So if anybody here has had cataract surgery, let me know. You can be my guinea pig. So here, what you're seeing is 3 sunspots that were crossing this week, just left of center there. And if you look closely, those whitish areas, those are called plagias. And it's a strange word. It's French for beach, and I have no idea why it's called that. But these are cloudy, milky, cloudy features that are associated with sunspots, and they tend to form huge networks. So some of these will stretch hundreds of thousands of miles across the sun's surface. And then the magnetic field. So these sunspots are primarily areas of very strong magnetic fields. And these plagias are created by the compression of gases and plasma in the chromosphere by these magnetic fields. And so that's what's producing them. So I don't know. I like the color anyway, if nothing else, of these things. So.
Did you have the color in it?
Nope, well, yeah, I shot with a mono camera, but I used the calcium K settings in Solar Toolbox, which is a feature in PixInsight, and then just tweaked it a little bit from there.
Suresh, can you hear me?
Yeah, who is this?
This is Thor.
Hey, Thor.
So I'm curious. I mean, your filter is in the near ultraviolet. How far does your sensor go? I mean, I'm wondering when does it run out of sensitivity for ultraviolet work?
Well, this is set at 393.4 nanometers. So if I'm understanding you correctly, it's a fixed wavelength. Interestingly, though, I should have also mentioned that with these filters, you don't have an energy reduction filter in the front of the telescope. So this is light that's coming straight through and hitting the module. And for many years, I wouldn't do this because I was always afraid of hurting my telescopes, but I figured I'd give it a try.
So even if the sensor is not very sensitive, you're getting a lot of signal anyway.
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
Well, I'm impressed that your sensor can see that whatever your detector is, can see that far into the ultraviolet.
Cool. Yeah. Oh, yeah, the camera range, Steve pulled it up for me. It's 200 to 400 nanometers is the CMOS sensor in the UV range.
Ah, okay. Yep. Thank you.
So go to the next
I'm
one.
glad I talked you into it, Suresh. You were
Send these
hesitant, and I was
down
like,
just
just
for the
send
se-
it to me.
For the heck of it. And he's like, oh, can you send these to me for the
Yeah, just send
presentation?
it. I always like good pictures, and especially when you're trying something new that we haven't seen as a club before.
Yeah. It was on my list for a few years. Just a little bit of a close-up, just showing some of the detail within the pages. I've been working on this. I'm still learning how to do this, but Nick Hartman gave me a tip to, like I said, with the H alpha images, those are 3-minute videos. These are just 30-second videos. And that made a huge difference because these are very easy to overexpose. And so I'm not only shooting faster videos, getting fewer frames, but I'm actually taking fewer frames. So instead of using top 50%, I use top 30% here. And that seemed to help bring out some of this detail and smooth out some of the boundaries of the pages so they weren't overexposed. Close up on the sunspot groups. You can see, again, some of the detail within them. So you have minor sunspots within the greater sunspot groups. I don't recall a sunspot number that day. Again, it was July 27th, but just a day or two later, the sunspot count was 261. So that's a lot. And there's a lot of sunspots on the sun right now. And it might be nearing maximum very soon here.
Hopefully more aurora on a
Yeah,
clear
that'd be
night.
nice. I think that's my last images. Oh, yeah. I forgot about this. Back on June 30th, I was visiting my parents outside Chicago, and I had just heard of Titan transits on Saturn. And this we only had a few of them this year, I think 4 total, maybe 5. But I was able to catch this one. If you look just below, yeah, thank
Here.
you. Right there. See that little black dot on Saturn? That is Titan crossing the planet's disk. And so if you guys aren't familiar, Saturn has a year that's almost 30 Earth years long, 29.46 years, Earth years. And it has an axial tilt similar to the Earth's. The Earth has 23-degree tilt. I think Saturn's is 27 degrees.
Yeah, 27.
And so generally Titan's far enough away from Saturn that we never see it superimposed on Titan's disk when it passes between us. But with Saturn coming to its equinox next May, there's a brief period here we could see Saturn actually transiting Titan, actually transiting Titan's disk. And I think the last one, was it this yesterday? Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, the last one that we can see Titan on Saturn's disk was just last night. But starting in November, we'll have a series of Titan shadows crossing Saturn. So we can look forward to that as well. I think that's my
Thank
last
you.
image.
And for those who don't know, Titan is the farthest place as humans we've landed a probe, the Huygens probe.
Yeah, that's right.
So
Almost 900 million miles away.
yeah. Everything else farther than that has just been a flyby.
Yeah, I should just add real quick, this was shot with an 8-inch Vixen telescope and my ZW 585 camera.
Okay, thank you, Suresh. Before you start talking, Chris, I want to ask you 2 questions. How's your neighbor's light pollution? And did you take down his tree?
His tree is still there.
What about the lights?
The neighbor one of my neighbors has toned down his lights a little bit. So,
Fair enough.
but another has added. So,
Because you got amazing pictures, and I was like, oh, he must have taken down the tree.
so no, the tree's still there. This was the center portion of the Heart Nebula, or the Heart of the Heart. I didn't say, I sent my notes to you, so I've got my email up here. It's 30 hours, 24 minutes and 10 seconds of exposure time. But it was entirely taken from home in Bloomington. And so, and I don't know what order you have the photos in. There was another image that was a similar color palette. This is a HASHO image. So I'm using the hydrogen alpha channel as luminance, and then normal SHO processing. And then I have some RGB stars that I really didn't crank up the saturation on because they look kind of bad. But I was really proud of that. So this image I took first. This was taken at Northern Night Starfest last year. And if anybody was there, they know how smoky the sky was. So I took this through all that smoke haze, and this is a much shorter amount of time. I think it's 8 or 12 hours, somewhere in there. But it was because I was successful with that color palette. I then chose to do that much longer integration from home, and both of them worked out. So this is the elephant trunk, if anybody's never seen that. And this one I have in there, this is the M27, the dumbbell. But I used a special color process on this. There's a guy named Tim Hutchinson, who did a presentation on the Astro Imaging channel. And he came up with a way to use narrowband images, but make the nebula look more like it was shot broadband. And he's fixing, he had to take into consideration about 3 different things to do that. One is the quantum efficiency of your sensor at each of those wavelengths of the narrowband sensor filters. And then he also made an assumption that if you have hydrogen alpha, you also have hydrogen beta, probably about, at quarter intensity. And he came up with a set of pixel math functions to blend this in. And I thought for this object, it worked really well to kind of present this narrowband data more as a broadband target. So, and this is some solar imaging that I've done. This is white light solar imaging. So this is with Botter film on the front of the scope, but I'm using a special Botter continuum filter to block out. It's kind of magic in some respects because you're cutting out all of the chromatic aberration and atmospheric dispersion by using a narrowband filter. So you end up with the ability to get very sharp images. So this I was kind of proud of because I got the solar granulation. I'm not sure if this is that same sunspot group. This is taken before that aurora. All right, and this is a 3.5 minute video. Just play. I went to Lake Chetek for the aurora, and my wife really made this happen. There was one camper cabin left in the whole state. And we had been to this park before, and I knew of this spot. So yeah, we'll let that buffer for a second. But if anybody's familiar with Lake Chetek State Park, it's between Marshall and Worthington. Oh, I want to point out something right here. Right there, half the power went out around the lake. And that stayed out well into the morning. So right at the end of where the credits are. So we saw a big flash on the north end of the lake, but we didn't really notice that the power had gone out because all the docks have their dock lights, and then the other half of the lake was still on. But the power was out well into like 7 a.m. in the morning at the state park that we were at. But the spot that we were on, we knew, so there's a lake and a set of islands, and they're connected by these causeway paths. And so we set up on the land bridge, basically between right here, you can kind of see where we were set up. And there was only one other family from Minnesota, or from the cities, with us on this little causeway. And we were there till dawn. So
I've been a fan of your astrophotography for a while, Chris, especially the stuff that you take from home that you are taking high quality stuff despite all the light pollution in a city setup.
Yeah, so the heart of the heart picture shouldn't even be possible from
Yeah.
Bloomington.
Yeah, that's why I give you grief about your neighbor's light pollution and the tree.
Yeah, the video is kind of choppy here. The other thing I did for this video is I kind of gambled on exposure length. I shot relatively short exposures, at least short exposures for me and the Aurora. I was shooting on the order of a 1.5 to 3 seconds, depending on which time lapse it was. I think it pieced together like 7 different time lapses in this short video. So, and they're all a little bit different. This one explodes with really bright sky right here. And this is kind of, looking partially south. I mean, the strong part of the Aurora here was more south than north. Here's where we're texting everybody, making sure they all saw it, right? Yeah. I know for sure we were at one point during it. I don't know if, yeah, there's a raccoon here that comes and there it is. No, I had no idea at the time. And this was back in the parking lot area. Marie kind of knew when astronomical dawn was. She said, we have until astronomical dawn. And she's in the car and I'm outside with the camera and she's texting me. She goes, it's time to go. I says, but honey, it's raining purple. Yeah, so these are just some stills from that night. No, we were on the way home for Father's Day and changed our plans for this. So.
That was a momentous day. A bunch of us, we went to see Neil deGrasse Tyson earlier, and I remember Trina texting me saying, "There's Aurora out there, get out." Thank you, Chris. Okay, Conrad.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm on my iPad. My computer's decided not to act up, so I just wanted to remark with Chris. I know that was May 10th. I'll never forget that that day. I remember Chris saying, "You need to go outside now." And my wife and I went up to the high school. We were flying out to Hilton the next day, so it was just a stressful time. We were packing, but yeah, I remember that. Thanks for telling me, Chris, because I didn't believe it till I actually got it. You need to go outside now, and it's like, yeah, we got it. We got it in our phone, but
good thing you didn't miss it.
Yeah, no, first one ever for me, first one. So it's pretty cool. So this is the Wizard Nebula, and I shot that up at NNSF last summer, and it's kind of my first big image with my stellar view. I've been kind of an SCT guy since I've been in this hobby, and I decided I wanted a refractor. So I've got a stellar view. I think it's similar to what Suresh has, a 102 stellar view. And I shot this with I believe it was the 2600, which is overkill for this. I mean, it's a really big sensor, but I want to try it. And it was, of course, like you guys were saying, it was smoky up there. But I shot this over 2-3 nights, and I used a combination of L-enhance and then UVIR and then I combined them together in PixInsight. So I shot multiple nights, and because of that, different filters, I had to shoot multiple flats, and yeah, I've always wanted to get the Wizard, so I finally got it. So I zoomed in quite a bit to show it, and then I kind of had it. It was kind of sitting kind of funky, so I had to rotate it through PixInsight because I wanted to be able to, you can see the Wizard. Some people can see the Wizard, but seeing it, right at you, it's easier to pick it out. So I did rotate a little bit. But yeah, I was pretty happy with that, especially up at NNSF, which I haven't had whole luck on getting imaging up there. So that's that one. And this one I worked on all winter. My goal, I shot Orion so many times, but I've never liked the core, the way the core got blown out, and so I wanted to try this called HDR composition, and I've heard Mark Jobe talk about it, and I've always liked my Orions, but I never liked the fact that I could never figure out how to get that core, toned down, and so this is my first attempt, and it worked well. You can see the trapezium is in there, and I was able to get the HDR composition to work well. And I'm trying to remember the process. I know it was a number of different things you had to do within PixInsight to tone that down. Oh, I know what it was. I took, I'm coming back to me now, but I took like 5-second exposures, 10-second exposures, I think 30-second exposures and 60-second exposures. And that's with HDR composition, that's what it does. You combine them all together, and then you're able to tone down that by mixing this different exposures. You can tone down that bright core. So I was pretty happy with this one. I shot this using my C8 Hyperstar. We got the Running Man up there to the left, and so I like this one so much that I have that coming. It's coming on metal in about a week. I ordered a 20x30 metal version of this. I've been waiting for many years to get an Orion without the core blown up, and I finally got it. So, yeah, that's it. That's all I have tonight.
Thank you, Conrad. Love the
Yeah.
picture.
Thanks.
Oh.
Let's see. So I've been doing astrophotography for about 4 years or so, and I mostly am just trying to improve over time. I have some new equipment that I was kind of trying out this year, so I was tending to I was shooting a lot of things over again with more extreme focal length, trying to zoom in on smaller targets. And let's see, what do we got here? Be Cocoon Nebula, I guess. And I've tried processing this one a bunch of times and I'm never happy with it, partly because I'm colorblind. And I don't know, I struggle and struggle with it, and I don't know. I'm still not sure this is right, but I like it better than I did before. So I think and I've been shooting this one for ages and ages, so I think this is about 16 hours of data maybe. But,
So Phil, trust us. It's beautiful.
all right. You can move on. Let's see.
Eagle.
Yeah, Eagle Nebula. Oh, this is like really not very much data. This is less than 2 hours of data and almost a full moon. And I was experimenting with a dual band filter to cut the moon down. It's a ultimate filter and a color camera. Can move on. Let's see.
Whirlpool Galaxy.
Whirlpool. Yep. Relatively short exposure time, 3 hours and 30 minutes. Stellar view. Oh no, let's see. This is a 10-inch SCT and a color camera. And let's see, this is probably my first real attempt at LRGB with kind of long focal length.
It's really nice, despite that you said it's only 2-hour exposure, right? That you can actually see all the details or see a lot of the details on the galactic arms.
10-inch.
So Phil, is that native F10 then?
That's 10-inch SCT at with a 0.63 reducer.
Oh, it is a reducer. So, okay.
Yeah. So it's
Okay.
like 1,800 focal length, something like that.
Okay. Yeah, that's still a pretty good focal length. That's why it's so big. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is pretty challenging for me to shoot at that kind of focal length. I was doing some experiments. I think I've got a Ring Nebula coming up here. You could probably move on to that one. Yeah. Ring Nebula. This is only 2 hours and 20 minutes because I've shot probably 13 hours of it, and I keep throwing out data because it's just like crap. The smoke is bad. Just a little wind and things blow around and your stars look like hell. So yeah, I tried stacking 13 hours and it only stacked 3.5 hours. So
It's
it's
nice.
it's kind of diminishing returns maybe, or you need to only do it when the conditions are really ideal.
So, and Phil, it's nice for a Ring Nebula because you see a lot of Ring Nebula close-ups, but this one, because you're doing a panoramic, you can see sort of like there's a galaxy in the bottom right.
Yeah, exactly.
Scarlet galaxy.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
And what else do we have? Let's see, that's 106. M106 and NGC 4248. That's a 10-inch SCT, 0.63 reducer, and color. Let's see. Yeah, color camera, IR cut filter. 4 hours and 45 minutes of exposure time or so. And let's see, that's Tulip Nebula, 8-inch SCT, 0.63 reducer, color camera, and L Ultimate filter. About three hours of integration time. It's fun.
And that's it. Thank you, Phil.
Good evening. This is Mark Peterson. This is a photo of comet Neowise taken on early in the morning of July the 7th, which is only like 4 days after perihelion, which is the closest point in the comet's orbit to the sun. And it was not visible at perihelion. Bob King, I like to read his articles posted on the Sky and Telescope website. And he encouraged people to go out and try to see if they could spot this comet after perihelion in the early morning. And he had the hopes that it would brighten up, and it was not predicted to be real bright. When I went out in my backyard in suburban Maple Grove, I had a pretty good view of the sky from there. And I just took out binoculars, and I was just hoping to see it in binoculars. And I easily picked it up in binoculars, but I was very surprised I could see it with my naked eye with a little tail. So I went back into the house and got out my 15-year-old Canon 20DA camera with a zoom lens. And this is one of the photos I took that morning. The focal length on the zoom lens was 120 millimeters. I was doing ISO 400 in about 5 seconds, and it was taken at 4:11 in the morning. And the summer of 2020 was a hard one for most people. It was the summer of the pandemic, and so a bright comet was a very welcome sight. Wikipedia states that This was the brightest comet visible in the northern hemisphere since Hale-Bopp in 1997. So this is my only photo.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Now, Jesse, you can keep holding the microphone.
Yay. These are just some aurora pictures from out at ELO. I think they were mainly taken with my cell phone. And Claire.
And Claire taking his pictures. Yep. See, you featured Jesse, she featured you. This is really nice with the dome.
And the moon. This was taken down in Texas. It was my first successful attempt at prime focus. I bought a motor for my CG4 a couple years ago and I finally got it to work. So yay me. But yeah, Orion Nebula. That's it.
Okay. Thank you. Thor?
Yeah, yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so wasn't it nice that we had sort of advance notice on the auroras coming at the beginning of May? And as a result, my wife and I thought, well, where should we take some pictures of this? And we wanted some sort of interesting foreground objects. And so we went to Franconia Sculpture Gardens, which is near Taylor's Falls. And I got permission to take pictures there, and so here's the I think I have 4 of them here that are static pictures. But my goal that night was to try to take some time lapse of the auroras, and I wanted it to be smooth and continuous. But I'd learned that you needed to have a pretty short exposure time in order to make a, kind of a smooth aurora movie. And so I set up my cameras I have 2 Canon cameras that I had set up with lenses that were operating at about f2 or 2.8. And I was able to make 2-second exposures, but my repeat rate couldn't be any faster than 4 seconds. So there's sort of like a dead time. So why don't you go to the next shot here. This is one of the sculptures at their place. If you've ever been there, they have some pretty crazy things out in the field. I think this one is called Johnny Appleseed or something like that. And these pictures, these stills were taken with my iPhone, which just stunned me that I could do this. The bright thing there is the moon that was on its way down. But the iPhone would take these pictures, and it has sort of an internal stabilizing algorithm. And I think the exposures were around 4 seconds or so. But I'm just stunned that the stars are as sharp as they are. Move on to the next one then. This is another one of the sculptures that's out there. And at 4 seconds, the aurora aren't as crisp as when you're seeing there, but they're more colorful than you actually see them. The camera amplifies the color compared to what our night vision can see. So I think there's one more of these. Yeah, and this is a row of trees they have planted there. There's another sculpture you can kind of see, but this is looking south. And so I was stunned that we could see these sheets of lights looking to the south. But that's the way it was that night. We were surrounded by it. So I did make a a time-lapse video, and I don't know if you have it queued up or can play it, but
No, I only got the pictures. I didn't get the video.
okay. Well, maybe next time.
If you're, since we're going to be covering over, this meeting and the next meeting, if you want to shoot me the video and I can add it at the end.
Yeah, okay.
Sounds good. No, so you said you did it with the iPhone 3 and 4 second exposures, right?
Well, that's what my experience was that's how long it took before it was sort of done with its process. You kind of hold it as steady as you can, and it takes care of removing the shake and everything.
Hey, Thor, this is Dean. Somebody pointed out to me, I took a lot of pictures with my iPhone, and I was also stunned at how good they were and how sharp they were. And somebody pointed out to me that when you are taking the picture, it makes you think you're taking like a 3-second exposure. But then if you go back later and you look at the information recorded in the metadata, a lot of times it was half second, 1 second. So it may have been sharper than you expected because it wasn't as long as you expected.
Well, I happen to know one of the engineers that writes software for the iPhone camera, and their algorithms are even fancier than that. It's basically a continuous stream of short duration exposures that are then merged. It's almost like like the multiple shots that people do, and add them together and enhance it, and it does the alignment and enhancement that way. So it could be that the individual exposures were a half second, and they piled a bunch of them together and aligned them and added them.
Okay, thanks. That certainly trumps anything I thought I knew.
Yeah, and I was going to say, Thor, you can actually increase that, but you'll have to go into settings to a 10-second, and then you can actually get sharper images.
Yeah, I mean, this is just the default Apple software behind the camera. I think you can buy other apps that do even more if you want to spend the effort to configure it exactly the way you want it.
Yeah, you don't need to buy an app for the 10. It's just the settings change. So,
Yeah.
but this is, again, with 3 or 4 second exposure, this is amazing.
Yeah, so I guess that's why I thought I was going to be submitting pictures from my sequence of time-lapse photos from these nice expensive Canon cameras with these fancy lenses, but it turned out the more dramatic ones came from my iPhone.
The one thing that I find out about this is Conrad. The one thing I found out about the iPhone, because I shot Auroras too, is in order to get 10 seconds, you have to be in a dark side. I mean, I couldn't get anything more than 3 seconds when there's light pollution. So it will automatically let you change to 10 seconds if you get to it, if it's darker.
Yeah.
So I've done that to my phone.
So this is now why, a long time ago, I would sort of poo-poo the pictures you would take with your phone, but now I encourage everybody to use them as much as they can.
Yeah, it's incredible what they've done with these phones. It really is. It gets better and better.
Mm-hmm.
You're not sure if it's an Aurora, try your phone.
It's a good one.
Oh, I've told that to so many people and they've appreciated that too.
Yeah. Thank
you.
you.
I think this is all for me.
Thank you. Now Doug Neverman.
I'm here. I took this picture. This is the Elephant's Trunk Nebula. I took it at NNSF last year. It's narrowband with the bands with sulfur mapped to red, hydrogen mapped to green, and oxygen mapped to blue. And it's a total of 4 hours across all of those filters. I took it with my monochrome 16 mm camera on a stellar view 8mm telescope. The object's in a bigger bigger nebula called IC 1396. Thanks for the fancy name. and which is a concentration of interstellar gas and dust. It's in Cepheus, if you want to try to go find it. And it's about 2,400 light years away from us.
Okay. Thank you, Doug. And now on to Craig Miller.
Oh, okay, you did it that way. This was serendipitous. I just went out at night and was taking a picture and I go, oh, there's a moon. That's great. And then as you see it progressing across, eventually the moon starts to cover the red spot. And then it popped off the rim and there it continues on. So I was both imaging the actual moon, which on the very first image is right in the sort of the red stripe there. And so it's casting the shadow off at an angle. And I just thought, well, that's a cool sequence. So this was a C14 with a 2X Barlow. So
Which moon was that?
which what?
Which one was that?
I believe it's Io, but I'd have to go back and check with Stellarium. I don't remember. This was in December.
Okay.
December 22nd of last year. The camera, this was a 1600 mm. So I was doing RGB filters. So I had to combine them all afterwards. And then I believe, yes, and I used WinJupos to sort of straighten them out. Yeah. It's a lot of work.
Oh, they're beautiful. The details on Jupiter are amazing. And then, yeah, just
oh, that's
moon
Reggie
moving.
Stack for you.
Yeah, you got some good detail there for Minnesota. I mean, I've struggled with Barlow with planets just because the scene conditions usually aren't very good for planetary, but this is really good with the Barlow. I'm surprised you got such a good shot there. It's
oh yeah,
very clear.
The night makes a huge difference.
You must have had wonderful scene conditions that night. You got very lucky.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
the best seeing conditions I get for Jupiter, unfortunately, are like 3 a.m. So
that's good. It's really good.
yeah.
Nice job.
Okay, this is the Bubble Nebula, and this was kind of the first light on a narrowband fast filter. So this is my Hyperstar setup, and I just love this new filter. I had a previous narrowband filter, but it was not a fast one, and so I popped this one in, and the first few photos just like, whoa, that I'm sure glad I bought that. So
is that the IDAS NBC by any chance?
yes, it is.
Okay,
well,
yep.
it's the next generation one. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yep. There was a problem with Hyperstar with the original Optolong filter came out. It wasn't very good, but yeah, the IDAS.
Yeah, the IDAS is really good,
impressed.
and it's and I have another one also. Okay, so this is my first foray. Yeah, this is first light on a refractor. So I didn't have any refractors, and this is the North American Nebula, and I kind of bought this really long focal length C14 and it was hard finding wider images, and so this was the first one in that. And so the next one will be, I think, a comparison of so this is again that narrowband IDS filter. And I just love the detail in the North American Nebula there. So if you look at that, that would be Mexico and then a little bit of Florida on the right-hand side there. Okay. And then the Rosetta. And this was with a color camera, not the monochrome. And this was probably done with the narrowband filter. So this one had trouble with the reds and greens. So I'm excited to try this again in the future with the IDS filter or IDAS. Oh, so you guys have shown pictures before. So the sunspots that created all those auroras, I missed taking a picture of the sun. And when it came around the other side, that sunspot group in the lower, let's see, the lower left-hand side there, that's it reoccurring as it came around for the second shot at us, but didn't create anywhere near the auroras that the first time came around. So I just thought it was fun to see how many spots there were on the sun at that time. And I don't know, maybe it's even come around a third or a fourth time. So, okay.
Thank you, Craig. Okay, Michael. Is Michael online?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, this was the same night that Eagle Lake Observatory was almost a madhouse. There were so many people there. Interestingly, some of my old childcare clients were there. So it was fun chatting with them. I'm really not an astrophotographer, but I take pictures to save events and remember that I was there. And I have fun with it. These were my first aurora pictures. Yeah, yeah. This was at Long Lake Conservation Center. A 14mm Rokinon lens, in about f4. I took about, I'm not very good with the details. I took about 60 pictures and then stacked them with sequator. Oh, yes. This is Mars approaching the full moon. I hope you got, there's one or two more of these stills, and then there's a video. And here Mars was just disappearing behind the moon. Ahmed, did you get the videos?
Yes. Yep.
You can see the moon moving across the sky with the rotation of the Earth, and then the moon itself moving in exactly the opposite direction to cover Mars. And unfortunately, I was nervous. This was my first time doing an occultation. I was cold and I stopped the video too soon. So I'm sorry about that. I really wish that I'd gotten the Mars disappearing behind the moon. It would have been so much cooler. I goofed. I was using a remote in my hand and I ran out there without gloves and I was cold and I pushed the button too soon.
Where is that picture, Michael? It's beautiful.
That was Crater Lake National Park. And it was an incredibly beautiful scene. This is my non-photos of the annular eclipse. It was a absolutely stunning setting. We were really freezing cold. The wind was 30 to 50 miles per hour. I was there with my sister and my partner Erica and my brother-in-law, and we were freezing our butts off, but it was really, really nice to be there. And nobody got any pictures of the annular eclipse, although there were thousands of people there. Lots of people to the right and left and behind me taking pictures, and sort of happy to be there and really disappointed. But I got a video. Ahmed, maybe you could play a little bit of the video, because I was very hesitant to show this to the MAS. When I posted this video of the clouds streaking across the sky over Crater Lake on Facebook, I got a lot of likes, but I'm really not sure that it's the kind of thing where I should be using up time for people showing their amazing, spectacular astrophotos, who are real amateur astronomers.
Well, we were looking up during an eclipse. Yeah.
This was with a fisheye lens, a 12mm fisheye lens, just about my favorite lens. I love what this fisheye does. Perhaps for astronomers, the most intriguing part here is how the sky goes dark. The annularity, it eventually covered, the moon covered 92% of the sun, and you can see just it gets really, really dark, and then it lightens up again. So the eclipse was definitely there. We just couldn't see it.
Michael, I never thought I'd say that, but as an astronomer, I hate clouds, but I love this.
Oh, thank you. It kind of puts the sky back in sky and telescope.
Yeah.
I really did make an effort to get a glimpse of the eclipse through the clouds. I could see where it was, and I focused in with a 1200mm lens, and really there was just nothing there but maybe a hint of a bright spot behind the clouds.
I think it's just repeating the video, right? Okay. Okay. Oh, more aurora.
That was again, of course, at Eagle Lake. And I think the most interesting part of taking the aurora photos for me was, I mean, I really enjoyed taking the pictures, but I kept having lots of people coming up to me. The people in the lower left corner there, they were from the Middle East. I believe that they were visiting here from Iran. So here we were at the Eagle Lake Observatory, and people really came out for that event. I should have another video of the aurora that's got more of the purple. There it is. And you can see the Big Dipper in the middle, kind of turning around the North Star there.
Yeah. Yeah, even the light pollution from the parking lot looks nice in this
Yeah.
video.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and Okay, so for a time check, it's almost 9 o'clock here, which is the official end of our meeting. And as I said, we're not going to be able to cover everything, so we'll stop here. And next month, we'll start with Trina Johnson's pictures, and hopefully she's here to present. And for her this year, no Razzies like last year.
She'll have a purple belt.
Again, cut that out. And so yeah, regarding the books and the door prize, everybody who sent me a picture, your name is we're going to be doing the drawing, the door prize drawing next month after we go through all the pictures. So hold on until then. That's the bad news, that you got to wait until next month. The good news is Dave Faulkner will be around. So he signed the books, but then you can get it customized to you, and he can do that for you in person. And you know, I was looking at my email quickly. I'm still getting pictures. Good. If you haven't sent me anything, send me pictures, and I'll add them to the slide deck for next month. And thank you so much. Now, Pizza Luce after.